Good morning, Marc Frederic, Le Charcuterie Anglais. Nice to see you again today. I'm going to continue talking about Scottish cattle. I'm going to do videos on most of UK cattle, but I just want to continue with Scottish cattle for the moment. Recently did a video on Highland cattle, and I want to move next on to Galloway cattle, including the Belted Galloways. And this video is aimed at, shall we say, farmers. Also, I hope to encourage some butchers too to use them. So farmers, smallholders, crofters, people who just have a dabble and use beef as an add-on to their main business. If you've already been rearing beef, many of you I know are just buying cheap mixed breed beef cattle from the markets, where you really don't have any history attached to what they mix with, how far they go back, and you just don't know the bloodlines or anything, and it's just bloody mediocre and sometimes poor beef, and something that's not that great. And I would like to ask you, or to try and encourage you, to up your game. And like I said, I've done a previous video on Highlands if you're into Highland cattle, but the one breed that's really underestimated more than any other Scottish breed probably is the Galloway. They typically range from 450 to 600 kilos. Of course, like the bulls are heavier, but they're a docile cattle, polled, so there's no danger of the horns. They can be a bit temperamental, if they've newly calved and they've got a calf at foot, so they can be a bit, be on the guard. So you have to be careful handling them during that time. But normally they're very docile, particularly if you spend a lot of time out in the field with them. And of course, like being in the field, that's where they need to be at 24/7, right throughout the year. So again, like the Highlands, you don't want to bring them indoors. You can get away with it with Galloways. They don't stress out as much as Highland cattle when they're brought indoors. However, you really don't. There's no need. There's just no need to bring them indoors. They're good converters of poor grazing. So, so if you're up in the Highlands or in areas where the grass is not not as good as it is in other areas, then they will thrive on it. One of the best things about Galloway, particularly when it comes to the beef, is they do throw down some good marbling, which makes for terrific beef and not so much back fat. And the reason being, they're double coated. It's a bit like a duck with down. They've got the outer feathers and the down underneath, so they're like double laid. So if you just think of that, and that's what the Galloway is. It's got like two types of two layers of coating, if you like. And of course, like they shed that during hot weather, and one thing to them, but in the winter months, they really survive well outside, and they want to be outside. And again, these cattle, like Highlands, they love being around woodland areas, and they thrive in it. They're great on hill farms, and they're light boned. The yield is good. The meat is terrific, and the portion size is just like, well, you can't beat it really. Portion size, especially in this state of economics, where people are on a budget, but they're unable to buy a steak normally because it's too expensive. That's usually down to the size. Well, they can. They're more likely to afford one from a Galloway. They're really popular, throughout the world, Galloways, and for good reason too. So, so if you're thinking of breeding beef, please really consider the Galloway or the Belted Galloway. The Belted Galloway is more of a newer version of the Galloway. They're both from the Galloway region of Scotland. But there's rumour has it the Belted Galloways came about several hundred years later, with some interbreeding from Dutch cattle. I don't know if that's true or not, but anyway, the Belted Galloways are what they are. Usually black, black with white stripes, large, broad white stripes. And of course, like the Galloways are normally black, albeit you can get the odd other colour. Red Galloways are nice. So, but predominantly black. So, yeah, I encourage you, because I've butchered Galloways, and I tell you what, I smile when I butcher a Galloway. I just think, wow, this is lovely, and it looks great on your meat counter as a butcher. And of course, like I said, it's compared to other beef, it's really affordable because of the the portion size. Your steaks from a Galloway are not going to overflow a dinner plate. All right, it's going to be within the rim of a dinner plate. So, and with steaks, I'm digressing. With steaks, it always needs to be about the correct thickness, and it's not to be sold by weight. Well, it has to be sold by weight for money. But what I'm trying to say is, for people in the trade, chefs, they order, I want 20 250 gram steaks. Well, when you're cutting steaks from a primal, you might get some around about 220, you might get some around about 260, and so forth. So you should not look at steaks in that way. Use it as a guide, perhaps, but my advice is always cut to the optimum thickness for a steak, and that way you can cook it through all the variations from blue, right down to well done. So, and that can only be really achieved properly on thickness. Anyway, Galloways offer this because they're small, so the steaks will be smaller. So you can then really go for the thickness, and still it's an affordable product, and it's the one steak that's going to be optimum thickness and give the best experience to the customer. The person's going to eat the damn stuff. They're going to be so thrilled with it. Now, not all breeds, as daft as it sounds, not all breeds can do that. They just can't. So, yeah, so, I implore you, especially those of you, and if I put you under the farmer umbrella, for those of you who are, dealing with mixed race beef, what I mean by that, the ones that have got, they're mixed up so much, it's worse than a, 57 stray dog, 57 variety stray dog. So I'm into, and I'm okay with what I call F1s, which is like first time crosses with one traditional native breed against another. So just say, for example, Aberdeen Angus cross Shorthorn. If they both have a native breed and you cross that to get a beef calf, I'm kind of all fair with that, because you're still keeping the native breeds either side. But if we can stay pure, it's even better still. And I think customers who go into the butchery, they'll be much happier paying a little bit more for you, the butchers and the farmers, to offer meat like you get from from a Galloway. So yeah, so I'm just reiterating what I've already said. Please, please, please start looking at Galloway Cattle and other cattle if you're a mixed beef farmer. And when I say mixed beef, I mean the ones where you just cannot identify any longer what's gone into that, you know, into growing that beef. You know, we don't want it, you know. So please, will some of you start giving it up and make a transition? I know it happens slowly, you can't do it overnight, but please, you know, start choosing breeds of cattle like the Galloway. But I'm mentioning Galloway because it's a great one to look at, particularly if you're farming up north of UK, where the territories are a bit harsher. There are some harsh territories in other parts of UK, including down the south, like, you know, Dartmoor, for example, you know, Devon and Cornwall down there. So when you get up onto the moorland there, again, you need cattle that can, you know, that can walk the ground. But there are Devon cattle that can do that. I'll come to that on another video. So yeah. So for those of you who may fall upon this video and you fall in that category of, you know, breeding or buying in cheap mixed breed crap from the markets, and you know, you're not really getting a deal. At the end of the day, long term, you're not really getting a deal. So I implore you, you know, just to have a think about this and start working towards something a bit better. And Galloway is a great choice. There's many other great choices, but Galloway certainly is a great choice to look at. You'll not be disappointed. And do your own trials, do your own taste tests. You know, go and buy some Galloway beef for yourself. Buy it on the internet or something, get it sent to you, and then try it against your own beef. You know, again, I'm directing it at you who are dealing with this bloody mixed this mixed beef. You know, where you can't recognise what it is. So where you just got to guess, oh, it's come from this, it's come from that. You know, so this video is really aimed at you guys. So anyway, I better shut up. I'm sure I'm pissing off one or two people. I don't mean to, but it's not my aim. It's not what I'm trying to achieve. I'm just trying to encourage people to look at British native breeds, purebred if possible. Even pedigree would be even great. You know, would be even great. But you know, if you can do pure native breeds and without, you know, watering them down, you know, you don't just get my vote. I'm a nobody anyway. You know, my vote doesn't count, but I have a voice, and I feel certainly some experience, and that's down to my age. But I feel what I've got to say can contribute, and end of the day, it's your business. That you know, it's what you're happy with, and you may be happy with this mixed breed stuff that you can't recognise. And if I can't change your mind, then fair enough. But you know, I'll still bid you good day if I passed you in the street or saw you at a market. But you know, I'm not your enemy. So but anyway, have a think on it, won't you? Toodaloo.